the model. And we really expect this maybe to evolve once we evaluate the initial pilots. Let me tell you a bit about the components, because this is important that you understand this also when you apply for this. Basically, the context refers to these dimensions that will drive transformation and impact through the use cases of the data space. So they can be of different categories: political, environmental, social, technological, legal. Not much to be explained there. It's just somehow the way we will include those ones in the model. Inputs, this is a quite important thing that can be clearly quantified, which are the required set of resources that will be needed to transform your processes. So basically, this is what you will feed into the model and into the data space. And we are talking here about investment and funding, about the raw data sets, technology capabilities that you are bringing to the pilot, the expertise and skills that I mentioned before, standards, potential methodologies, learning from other projects. So there will be a series of resources that you will include there as an investment in your data space pilot. And then here, the two major things, the outputs and the outcomes. The outputs refer to the products, goods, and services, which will change activities, including new policies, legislation, technological solutions, and infrastructure. Outputs are direct result out of the investment you do in the data space. And we have categorized the following ones, the following somehow labels: trust and transparency, data availability and usability, user experience that we mentioned before. That will be a key part probably for the services that you plan to implement. Outputs in terms of ecosystem engagement, that we hope that they will be richer and strengthened. Intelligence as part of somehow the services developed on top of data, and financial sustainability. So these are the categories of outputs that we expect as a direct result of the inputs in the data space. Then outcomes refer more to the, let me take this out. Outcomes refer more to the likely or achieved short to medium-term effect of an intervention's outputs. So here we talk more about the medium-term effect that the data space will have on your applications and more on horizontal aspects of your environment. And the categories that we have defined here relate to citizen centricity, livability, operational efficiency, regulatory compliance, and economic developments as some of the outcomes that we expect you to get out of the data space. And then impacts refer basically to the long-term effect of using the data space. So as you can see here, we will work on quantifying inputs to the data space, outputs as direct result of the data space operations, outcomes as the effect in the short to medium term, and then the long-term impacts, which are the ones that are very difficult to quantify. I don't think that we will reach that situation, but we will really work mainly on the layers of inputs, outputs, and outcomes. And again, these are basically the categories, but of course we have done some additional work, and then you will see now the indicators that we have defined so far for these ones. As mentioned before, and just for clarification, there will be two kinds of measurements that we will do in particular through one of the work packages of the project, work package 4, that will be dealing directly with the pilot execution, and will relate to both the indicators that have to do with the performance of the data space, service level agreements, data, how data management is enhanced, all these kind of aspects that relate to technical capabilities of the data space, also benefits that have to do with the governance and all the different building blocks of the data space. And then again, the effect of using the data space in the particular application domains of the pilots. And here, of course, some of the work will be done later when we know exactly which are these application domains that you will propose in particular through your pilots. And some of them cannot be defined in advance. So let me go to the last part of the presentation, which is precisely sharing with you some of these KPIs that we have already defined as a result of this model, and that we expect to refine somehow and evolve in the future version based on the input that you will provide to us. So we have made an exercise to define KPIs that will allow us to quantify some of these aspects that I mentioned before. And here I've included a couple of slides, one that relates to outputs and what that relates to outcomes. So as I mentioned before, I'm sorry to repeat it so many times, but just for the sake of clarification, output is the direct result of the data space. while the outcome is more like the short to medium term effect of using the data space. And we hope that we will be in a position to be able to measure many of them. However, I'm convinced that probably the first set of indicators that we have defined may not be the most suitable ones and may not be complete, precisely to get a good picture of this impact. And that's precisely what we want to bring to the discussion today. I don't know if we have time to go through each of them individually, but just for the sake of understanding, let me give a couple of examples. So in terms of data availability and usability, some quite obvious ones, like number of data sets will be a way of measuring this, percentage of distribution of data sets across smart city domains, the compliance with MIMS, compliance with Interoperable Europe Act that I mentioned before, compliance if it applies to with Inspire Directive, if there are geospatial data, number of downloads, views, or API calls to understand to which extent these data are being used, percentage distribution of downloads or views. And then you have, for example, things about trust and transparency there, which also have to do with some compliance with specific regulations, like EU data regulation that concerns the different X on data and AI, but also the adoption of ethics policy, compliance with GDPR. So for user experience, we've included things on the omni-channel experience that has to do very much with the trends that I explained in the previous presentation, or the user satisfaction score, compliance with accessibility regulations. Some of them may apply or not, depending specifically on the domain and the applications that you are proposing in your pilots. For sure, in terms of ecosystem engagement, we will measure things that are quite straightforward, like the number of data users, data providers, data intermediaries, also percentage of distribution between the different countries involved, social media engagement. So this has to do with how the ecosystem is being nurtured and strengthened, which is one of the expected results we want to get out of the data spaces. So again, major categories just for your information, so that when you apply, you understand a bit where you should also put a bit of focus, and to understand that these things will be measured, or at least there will be an attempt to measure all these different indicators that I'm explaining today on trust and transparency, data availability and usability, user experience, ecosystem engagement, and intelligence. And I hope that this will help you to define your pilots in a better way, also thinking that it is not just a very abstract thing, but at some point in time, both you and us will be interested in understanding what is the figure associated to all these indicators that I'm presenting. And then for the outcome, which is more like the medium term, and we hope that we will be in a position to measure some of those, and we will do our best, at least in that respect. You see that some of the categories overlap a bit, but we have defined these categories of citizen centricity, livability, operational efficiency, regulatory compliance, and economic development. Again, some of the particularities and specificities will depend on your specific pilot, but depending on the service, you may be able to measure or not the employee productivity, responsiveness to citizen requests, time to market of new services. So we are really eager and looking forward to understand what kind of applications you are providing, so that we can refine and customize this a bit more for the different pilots. And that will be an exercise that we will do together with you. So don't be scared now, especially for the ones applying to the call for pilots. We will really be working with you hand in hand for all these indicators. And the basic goal, as I mentioned at the beginning, is not that we create a burden for you, but that we all understand to which extent investing in the data space is really bringing benefits to you. And we really want to make this very visible, so that not only your own cities understand if they want to do additional investments on this, but also to be sure that also other cities can replicate the same models, and they have guidance on where they could invest best their resources and which applications are providing maybe better productivity or better results on using this data.
Thank you, Nuria.
I know this goes very fast. We don't have much more time, but now
the link for the MIRO board in the chat. So now, because of the time that we lost, we indeed have to speed up a little bit. As you can see on the MIRO board, it's in the chat, the link. If you can't access it, please speak up. If you have a problem, please speak up. If you just want to say something about the output KPIs or outcome KPIs that Nuria mentioned, just speak up. We are now even less than before, so it's really a nice environment to just exchange. Please go zoom in to the board. So frame 1 is the output KPIs. And the first task is that you just indicate if these KPIs are at all relevant for you. So thumbs up relevant, thumbs down. It's not relevant. So if you feel anything quite negative towards something or positive, please express it. And on the right side, for each one of the KPIs, you will find post-its, and then you can also just say, like, if you have experience at all in this area, what is your experience? If you have had any challenges, we would like you to just give you now, let's say, 10 minutes, probably a little bit less, to express your feelings about these KPIs and your experiences. Afterwards, also within this 10 minutes, you can also move down to the outcome KPIs and do the same exercise. So it's a lot of new information, but it's quite structured. So please just explain and add your experience. It's also good for you because it's something that we are going to use in the future. So it's time to shine and to express your opinion and give your input, because we will use this in the future. Thank you. Anything to add?
Yeah, express if relevant or not, how, if you see the feasibility of measurement of some of these indicators, and also if you feel that maybe we are missing an indicator that seems particularly important to understand the performance of the data space and also the effect on your environments, please feel free to add there whatever indicator that you think that we really missed in this model. Of course, as mentioned before, this will evolve, but all your input is really welcome. You know your environments better than us.
Okay, so to those who just joined us, I will put it in the chat again. We are now moving on to the MIRO board exercise, where we are discussing the output and the outcome KPIs that Nuria just presented. So here you can read about them in detail. So what was on in the presentation as well, and using the thumbs up or thumbs down, you can express if it's relevant or irrelevant. And you can also use the post-its to just reflect a little bit about your experience, if you have experience using these, and what would be the bottlenecks, what would be the challenges, what is the feasibility of these. And it's important that you do so because we will use this input in the future. So if something is totally irrelevant and you didn't say this, and then it will become, we'll use it later, then it's.
And we hope that this is also useful when you design your pilots and then you send your applications, because it gives you an idea of some of the things that we expect to measure. So
we will leave the board open as well, so everyone can access it. And now we will do this exercise until 28. So 6 more minutes. Oh, Peter, this was a big thumbs up. Thank you. I appreciate it.
and we hope that these disruptions in the connection didn't break the.
Yeah, well, I'm
work
afraid
spirit.
just around 20 people, but we need the core people. It's really engaging. This was a test. And thank you also for the links in the chat and for the comments about the overlap with the terminology, that we should align with the canvas as well. I think that's a really good tip. And Monica, thank you for the tips as well.
Yes. Sí.
Thanks also, Martin, for stepping in the
Sí,
question about the
gracias.
standards. I think very relevant to mention.
Someone has to.
Thank you very much, Monica, also for the link to these KPIs from Susan. I just think that.
And I said, please also, if you want to just say something out loud about something, we can. You don't have to use the Miro board. You can also just note down your comments.
while you are working on that, I'm checking somehow the messages on the chat, and there are a lot of interesting links and comments. Thank you very much for the references.
Most of them seem
And Sophie, can you share again the link? Like apparently some people who joined a bit later didn't have it.
Sure. It's in the chat. There we go.
And then maybe because we don't have a lot of time, Sophie, maybe it's interesting if anyone wants to stand up and maybe make any comment about what you are putting there. I see most of the hands are like this, but I see also some hands like this. You may want to comment on that.
I would like to actually hear about those who put negative one. Like there's someone who says it's irrelevant, the responsiveness to citizen requests. I don't want to out you, but I'm just curious why you think so. And also someone, I don't know which one it was, the availability and downloads of data and insights on citizen communities, sustainable mobility or environmental sustainability. If you can just elaborate on it a little bit, I would appreciate that. I noticed compliance. So how do you use it in regulation? Yes, yes, it's Yolanta put a comment, Nuria.
Yeah, I see. I'm not sure that I have an answer. So in principle, of course, we will check the compliance with the regulation that is relevant. A lot of
Yes.
things are coming into play just in the cycle of deployment of the pilots.
But I would dare to say that indeed it's
One
just
of the
something.
in
Thank you for
particular.
linking it, Yolanta. But indeed we would. It just once it comes into so now it's this is the base, and then we are also fine tuning this. So this is also the moment for us to interact with you a little bit to understand what are feasible, because we also don't want to impose something that's actually not feasible at all. Yeah, I see that you have already started putting the reflections as well.
And then again, notice that we don't do this just to create additional workload for you. We will really help you with all these measurements. What it is really important is to ensure that we are not doing deployment of technology just for the sake of technology or just because we want to have more data sets that should have an effect on the services and applications that you are creating or in the efficiency of the processes that you are already running. So I think it's very important, and probably if we go to your bosses, and then the first thing that they will ask is what will be the return on investment to invest in the data space. So I think that through the deployment, we are trying to answer those questions. And it will be a very important enabler for us to ensure the sustainability of the data space. We need to see that all of you as users and contributors to the data space get a clear benefit out of that is tangible. And that at some point in time we need to show that the data space is not only working well or is useful, but also that you are willing to pay for that. So I think that at some point in time, and this is also part of the work we will do during the project, we will analyze business models. We will help in the data monetization as one of the revenue sources, just one of them. And it will be very important to understand the willingness to pay for some of the services. They may solve a problem, but is that enough for you to pay for that, or for some of the users to pay for that? And probably many of these measurements will help us to answer these questions.
All right. Well, if there are any more questions regarding impact assessment, then please come forward, unmute yourself, or just put it in the comments, of course. As always, we will leave this MIRO board open, but we will move on now to the open call announcements. Sila, would you be able to come?
Yes, thank you. And I'll also start sharing my screen.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. The ones
I'm
that
so sorry, but I will have to ask you to make it as quick as possible beyond the
Yeah,
time
that's
so that we
okay.
can. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Just to confirm, can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can.
Very good. And first of all, thanks a lot also to Nuria for this presentation, because indeed, while there's of course a lot of different operational aspects that need to be figured out for the call for pilots, in the end, we want to make sure that the pilots are actually leading towards something valuable, and we're also going to ask that aspect in the application form, and it will be evaluated. We won't go into too much detail in terms of the inputs, outputs, all of that. That we will go much more deeper in during the pilot support phase. But of course, as much as you can already think this through from for yourself in the consortium and then the pilot sites, the better it is also to understand what the pilot is actually trying to achieve. Going back, just to introduce myself as well, as I'm probably a new face to many of you. My name is Silla Sepp. I'm the head of urban data ecosystems in Finest Center for Smart Cities in Taltech, and we're leading then the work of the call for pilots in the clarifying all the details for that. And my goal here today is to give you a bit of overview of where we stand with the upcoming call for pilots, give you also a short overview of the recommendations from our side to start doing during the summer until the deadline of the call for pilots for the first round. But I won't go into too much detail with any of the requirements or the different framework for the call for pilots, because we will first launch the call for pilots, and then we will also have a dedicated session for that. So just to remind the background for this, the whole point of the pilots is there to actually validate in practice what does it mean to establish a EU-wide cross-sectoral data space, as we're now entering the phase of really deploying that. And we want to do this through 10 to 12 different pilots across, in the next 3 years. There will be 3 rounds for different call for pilots. And this call for pilots is specifically targeted to local and regional public administrations in the EU. That means that pilots would need to have at least 2 public administrations involved from different member states. Of course, we are welcoming also other partners into the pilots, and that the important part is that it makes sense for your consortium and for the pilot. Going forward, of course, this is a slide that probably is already familiar to you. I won't spend too much time on this, but I would want to emphasize the points on the right. First, it is a really big opportunity to actually contribute to our green and digital future in the EU. And also you can establish yourself as the leader in that regard by actually implementing those policies, those new innovative solutions around data sharing. And of course, it's not trivial that, of course, through the piloting activities, there is opportunity to actually receive financial support as well as guidance from the consortium as well as other stakeholders to really use the blueprint for the data spaces for smart communities and also federate with other data spaces in Europe, meaning the pilots. Going forward, Nuri mentioned a bit on the scope already to combine different types of use cases across the different Green Deal domains. We will ask to try to combine at least 2 of the Green Deal domains, as well as, of course, that there's opportunity to integrate other domains falling under the new European Bauhaus initiative. So it's really up to you in the end which ones you want to emphasize, but we want to ensure that the pilots will be cross-sectoral and cross-domain. Going forward, we're now finally entering the phase that we're ready to launch. We are expecting to launch this first round on the 1st of June, pending all final details are confirmed in the coming days. And the application period will remain open for 3 months. We then have a few months to evaluate and negotiate all the terms for the pilots. Until then, the first piloting period for the implementations, I would expect. We expect this to start in November this year. And we're expecting also that all of the pilots will last from 12 to 18 months. If you're already thinking that you're definitely interested but cannot meet the deadline of 31st of August for this, there will be, as mentioned, for the following rounds also for the second and third time. These will start right away after each other. So the submission period starts for the second round already in September, and then following for the third round in December. The last round, we are expecting to get pilots that are a little bit shorter, up to 16 months. So please bear that also in mind in terms of how long pilot you're planning. And now I go into the point about what we expect that you would what activities would support you in successfully submitting your application. First of all, well, follow the call for pilots launch coming up in the funding and tenders portal very soon, as well as all of the details also provided on the website of the Data Space for Smart Communities project. From there on, of course, we recommend you to start familiarizing yourself with the priority areas of the European Green Deal and new European Bauhaus initiative, and start thinking about what those relevant sectors, domains would actually be for your project proposal. Then, as mentioned already earlier, there is a lot of resources available that can support you in defining your pilot and also submitting this successfully. Revisit the recordings from the past meetings of these kinds of stakeholder forums. And also there will be upcoming info sessions that will go into much more detail about the different types of requirements. And we're also planning for some coaching sessions on topics like, for example, ethics, compliance. So stay aware, look at the communication coming out from us about those info sessions and participate if it's possible. We, as much as possible, will try to also record those and make them available to you afterwards. Most importantly, start building your consortium. Use the data cooperation canvas to help clarify the purpose, the use case, the organizational setting, the technical setting, etc. And start defining this using the questions, the guidance from the both blueprint as well as then what you need to in the end describe and elaborate in the application form. And also, if you have any questions, we've collected several of questions already in the past meetings. We've published those under the frequently asked questions page on the website. And if you can't find an answer from there, please also reach out to us via email. The email support at DS4SSCC should be already active. Please bear in mind that there are a lot of preconditions and let's say requests for the pilots, considering the legal framework, financial framework, technical, business and organization, and ethical. And certain aspects of those will be also set for eligibility, meaning that once we receive all of the proposals, before they actually go into the expert evaluation, they will also run through a eligibility check, and only eligible applications will actually go further for content or substance review. So we've made that list available to you, and we'll make it. This is for sure too small here to read, but please check also through that you are actually eligible with your conditions that you set up for the pilot. From the time once you're ready to submit your application, we request from you an application form, written answers for describing the pilot, and the budget sheet, letter of commitment from the pilot sites, and also all of the organizations that are actually contributing with the co-financing, that is at least 50%. And finally, also the ethics and data protection self-assessment that will be later used to also compare how you're actually thinking through the ethical challenges, legal issues, etc., through your work plan. And as mentioned, then once we receive the applications, they will go through the eligibility check, evaluation by experts. Once we have done the final ranking and decided that winning pilots, we will of course let you know. And after that, there will be also aspects of financial and legal scrutiny to make sure that all aspects have been indeed covered, like for example, ownership control declarations. From there, we start the negotiation and then contract signing. We will do that fairly fast, within maximum 1 month. And then the implementation starts, and I wanted to highlight here as well that you are expected, well, first of all, you can expect a lot of support from our side, as well as we expect that you actually participate in that pilot support. So do take this into account also when you're setting up your budgets, to leave some effort to actually participating in those kind of workshops, to think through various aspects in terms of technical, business, organizational impact, etc. So with that, I'll leave the presentation with those points about just to stay informed and get involved with the project and the pilots. Check the frequently asked questions page. Remember the emails where you can reach out to us. The info session that I mentioned, we are planning this for 12th of June at 10 a.m. Central European time. You can already save the date for that, but we'll for sure also send out specific invitation regarding that. You might already have received a first newsletter from this project. So if you haven't, please also subscribe to that. That's the best way to stay informed about all the important messages. And of course, social media helps also to helps you to stay informed. So LinkedIn and X will be useful there. We'll also provide the links later on in the chat so that you can get it right away. But with that, that's up from me, and we're almost there to start the call for pilots. We're expecting this to start on the 1st of June on Saturday, so stay tuned. And yeah, if there's any questions, I'm here also to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Stella. Could you please go back to the application journey slide? I had a question. Danica, what was your question about this?
Judy.
Hello.
Hi.
No, I wanted just to have a better picture related
Okay, I understand.
Because I'm not sure about the presentations. You will surely probably share them, right?
Yes, all presentation will be sent and alongside with the recordings to all the stakeholders, and you are able to access this and also previous ones. All right, then I will.
On building the consortium, you said there have to be just minimum 2 public authorities from 2 different countries.
Indeed.
And
Exactly.
what is the sense of the, what is your feeling of the maximum? Not really a must to have a maximum, I know, but what is, let's say, the best setup according to your own how to
We
say
are looking for, I mean,
prediction.
I don't think the number is necessarily like the minimum 2 is what matters, but what we are looking for really is use cases that are relevant for the Green Deal objectives. We are also, of course, going to look at the geographical coverage But I really wouldn't say that there is a preferred number apart from the minimum two.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think it really depends on what makes sense for you. As like in the end, we want to validate also the aspects of how you can transfer knowledge and build up those ecosystems across the different pilot sites. But you need to, of course, take into consideration the budget, what is also feasible to actually do in that terms, and also it depends on the maturity of those pilot sites, because we expect a certain level of maturity to actually have, well, basically expect that you are able to complete the pilot in that duration.
Thank
But I
you.
see also a hand from Martin.
I see it as well, but I'm afraid we are really short on time, so we have to move on. Flavio, are you? I'm so sorry, Martin, but we really have to move on. I'm sure that your insight is more than valuable, but we need to do the next part, otherwise we will never finish. Flavio, are you here for the survey part?
Yes, I'm here.
You.
I promise you in advance that I will be fast. So I ask also our participants to be fast. So I have few questions for our participants about the training packages that we are going to provide as part of the support to the selected pilots. But those training packages will be generic in the sense that anyone interested in data spaces for smart communities could benefit of those packages. So we have already made some analysis on our own. Of course, we are going to somehow also follow the structure of the blueprint, but also the structure of the knowledge that our pilots will need. So roughly, we expect to split the training packages in a generic introduction, then to have a technical part, business governance, legal, a bit about the available infrastructure, and then also we have added a new proposal for the data space co-creation process. So the data space support center published a nice chunk of information about how to define, deploy, and operate data spaces. So we have also identified different target groups in your ecosystems that may need trainings. So this is decision makers from local authorities. Then local authorities have also IT experts. Then from the supply side, we have business developers and IT experts as well. So this is how somehow generic list of target groups that we see. So now I have a few questions for you that you can answer to Slido. It's on the next slide. Just give me a few seconds to give you some instructions. So please think about if you would get a pilot funded. Of course, you already have a lot of knowledge about data spaces, but think of all those that you would have to involve in the project that maybe are not so advanced as you are at the moment, right? So here is the first question. If you go to Slido, you can either scan the QR code or go to the website and enter the code. So the first question is, how would you assess the current knowledge about the European data spaces for smart communities for each of the target groups?
So you can take your phone and scan the QR code, or you can go at slido.com and you can put the hashtag 3150561 code in, and then you can join it.
Okay, we have 2 responses for now. It's 42 participants. So at least 10, 15 more if we could get. Not from the consortium, but from the prospective pilots. So you're not allowed to vote. We have 3 votes. So it's really important for us because at the end, as you have also as you will see in the terms for the call for pilots, you will be also obliged to attend to some of those trainings, and it's in our interest and in yours, of course, to define your trainings, to tailor them to the needs of the pilots, because we would really like to help you, as also Sila and Nuria said earlier. We would like to help you and to support you to get.
Flavio, there is
get
a
remuneration.
question in the chat. Are these training materials already available during the application process?
No, we are preparing the training packages during the summer, so they will be ready when the pilots start. We have collected some drafts, but they are not. It's not something that we would be willing to share for the call.
Sorry to rush you, Flavio, but
Okay, thank you for 17 votes. This is something. Okay, I will just rush through the answers. We can share them later, right? So which training about the data spaces would you need? If you can answer in 1-2 minutes, you will go through the list there, and you will see the ones that I listed at the beginning. So what are the topics that you're really interested in? Okay, 1 vote. Okay, we have some votes. It's 8 more people responding. So give us a few more seconds. Okay. $20 votes, great. So we have half people answered. I will go to the next one. These are the answers. I will just rush through them. And this is then about the length of the training. So 1 person that would attend, what would you think? What is your rough estimate? What would it be the length needed in hours? So 1-2 hours would be like 1 webinar. If we go for more, then we would split that into packages. So this is for 1 person, and each person will have a possibility to choose from the different packages. So it doesn't mean that the whole consortium will go to all the trainings. Okay, we have 14 votes here, few more maybe.
okay, I will also share this in the email, and then perhaps we can see if we will get a bit more input.
But we already share 18. Okay, and the last one. Okay, we have one more person answering. Okay, 19 votes. So this is, you can enter the text, so we will get a word cloud. So if you think of the topics that you would like to hear about on our trainings, now don't forget about what I explained you, what are the topics we think are important. So give us few keywords about what's important for you. Okay, legal interoperability. Governance is getting bigger. Okay, we have 10 more people typing, so just one more minute. Governance, building blocks, budget, memes, value. So I would say we are going more towards the non-technical aspects.
Okay, why people finish? Is this the last question, Flavio?
This is the last question. I see 2 more people typing, so give them.
They can finish typing, but at the same time, Luisa, Marcel, I'm afraid the planning was that we would have had enough time for 3 pitches of potential use cases, but now we have 5 minutes left, so actually 4. So I would like to start with Luisa, if you are here to
Yes, I
pitch
am.
your use case.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me share my screen where I have a map. Can you see my map?
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, Anuja Marsal, I'm a consultant for the Catalan government, for the Catalan Agency of Tourism. And we are willing to put forward as a pilot a framework that what it pursues is having the citizen at the center of the data spaces. We want these data spaces to be informed by citizen needs and priorities. And since we are the Catalan Agency of Tourism, our use case is basically on tourism. We consider tourism a public service, basically. And we want this public service, which is not essential, but it's important, to be part of the next generation of the trust services. Therefore, we use blockchain technology to create the intelligence, the citizen intelligence that will come from the community, from the region where we will implement this, let's say, citizen-based touristic model. And this tool, this blockchain tool, which is called DAO, is a decentralized autonomous organization that basically it's a decision-making tool that allows citizens, companies, businesses related to tourism to have a say on the kind of touristic model they want for a specific region. And this will inform, obviously, the data space. And we will visualize all these inputs, data, and any other sort of information we collect from the territory, including, the economics that this new touristic model will generate. We will visualize all these in what we call the bioregional digital twin. So this is a kind of, you know, the next step for local digital twins, because it's very, you know, connected to the region, to the values of the place. So it's a place-based digital twin for these interconnections with the citizens and the territory I mentioned before. So overall, the framework, it rolls on 3 pillars: the citizen-centric data space, that it collects information from the DAO, which is this decision-making tool that is blockchain-based, and it visualizes, it shows everything on the bioregional digital twin. Our login is EU compliant, but is also decentralized at the same time. So we basically use the EIDAS, LD infrastructure, but also the EPSI infrastructure. The EPSI is the European blockchain, let's say, infrastructure. And here we have the challenge to make it like also compliant with zero knowledge proofs and let's say non-identity proofs, so that the user can freely vote in the DAO without, I mean, by keeping the privacy and the security that are built in the blockchain decentralized identification systems. So, well, it's quite a challenge, but I think it can really be a next step, or really, let's say, the future, the place to go for citizen-centric data spaces, but also that are very connected with the territory, with these bioregional digital twins. And I want to use this opportunity also to make a call. We have a trialing region in our in Catalonia, which is in Collsacabra in Girona, but we are looking for a partner. So if anyone wants to come forward as a, you know, partner region, we would be very much willing to talk about it in terms of presenting the pilot together.
Thank you, Luisa. Perhaps you could put your email address in the
Yes,
chat as well.
I will. Mm-hmm.
Many thanks for this presentation and for your call for a potential pilot. We were due to have 2 more pitches from Ron and from Amsterdam, and from Tuto from Germany or Austria. I'm not sure which one you are from, because it was a colleague who suggested this pitch. We will shift these 2 pitches to the next stakeholder forum, because we are already over time. And there will be more opportunities. I think we can surely say that at every stakeholder forum, we would like to allow for you guys to also pitch your potential use cases and to ask for collaborations. That said, we will close the meeting now. I will share the recording and all the presentations with everyone. So Luisa, please also share your presentation with me so I can circulate it. I will also give you the link to all the other materials that we have available. I will also share the MIRO board as well as the Slido link with you if you would like to provide us with more input. We would really appreciate it. As said, it serves us, but it serves you more, because you are expected to work with these materials. So it's really good for us if you provide your input. And hopefully see you all next week in Rotterdam. Yes, I can promote this. We have the OAS conference in Rotterdam next week, on the Monday and Tuesday. So please come say hello if you can. And many thanks for everyone who presented and everyone who lived through this Zoom on and off fiasco that we had today, and for keeping with us. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.